there everyone, welcome back to James Redman TV and welcome to another Redman Roundup. We're not going to be doing anything news-based. If you were here for news, I'm sorry, we've got no news, no updates, no anything. We're just looking at a bunch of midfielders for our midfield. In fact, I'll give you a mini update. The position that Liverpool are in from my perspective and from the sources, the most reliable sources closest to the club and just reliable sources in general, the general picture that I'm getting is we have got 8 options. We just don't know who we're going to choose. And when I say 8 options, I mean 8 CDMs from the looks of it, and that we're not keeping or putting all of our eggs in one basket the way that we typically do, like with Jude Bellingham, like with Tchouaméni, where, you know, if we didn't get them, then it had to be wait till next summer so we can possibly get them, and then when we didn't get them, that proven to be false. But now we're in a position where we're looking at all the options and we're probably going to see which is most financially viable and who's going to suit the team most and who's going to improve us most in the short term while still having that long-term benefit. So there you go, I gave you a little mini update, but the purpose of this video is actually a little bit more exciting, because who likes hypotheticals? Because I know I do. I like hypotheticals and I like the prospect of the future. So when I reference teams like Arsenal, for instance, I think that's an extremely exciting project because all of their best players are younger players and all of the players that they are growing are young. So it's not like anybody is the age of 25, 26 and we're waiting for them to kick on. That team is already really, really good, close to being world class if it's not already, and they've already got loads of young players, and then the understudies to the said first team world class young players is more decent young players. So the reason why I enjoy it is because that, to me, is the best way that you can run a football club. If you can increase the value of all your assets, one way to keep a value maintained and highly maintained is by simply having a young player. Trent Alexander-Arnold, if we were to sell him tomorrow, we're selling him for 100 million plus. And I think there's many managers in the Premier League, like Pep Guardiola. I think if you ask Pep Guardiola for Trent, he'd take him in a heartbeat. Obviously, it's not possible because we wouldn't sell him. And I think that he would find a place in the team to adhere to the defensive deficiencies before everybody says, oh, Trent isn't a defender, Pep wouldn't want him. Pep Guardiola would love Trent Alexander-Arnold, let me get that clear. Mikel Arteta would too. Now, this isn't about Trent, and it's not about those teams. I only mention Arsenal because they're a good reference to young players. Now, I think Liverpool have at least been making better strides in getting young players through the door. So the youth academy, I think it's improved. I think we're seeing a lot more stars coming out of the academy than what we did previous. And I think this is something that FSG have built over time. And we've only had Trent and Curtis go all the way to the first team. So, listen, it's not perfect. There's certainly more investment that needs to be made on the youth academy front. But in terms of a money turnover, I think Liverpool have done some of the best business, or should I say some of our best business has been through the young players and youth academy products. Let me just give you a few examples. Ryan Brewster, 20 to 25 million to Sheffield United, barely playing a game. The most that he'd done was taking a picture or a video in the barbershop with his Champions League medal, which, by the way, appreciate the shamelessness, thought it was fantastic. Never even played a minute in the Champions League, still claims it, I would too. Dominic Solanke, bought him from Chelsea at a very young age, but Brewster from Chelsea, to be fair as well. But Solanke, we bought him from Chelsea, 3 million, goes to Bournemouth for 20 million. Jordan Ibe, buy him from, I believe it was either Birmingham or Derby County, one of the two, and we sold him for 20 million as well to Bournemouth. Point that I'm leading to, some of our best acquisitions and outs of the football club have been young players. Some of our best value for money has been young players, and I think we're doing something similar with Fabio Carvalho right now. And I know I've just seen a bunch of eyes roll because I know that there's a lot of people who like Fabio Carvalho. The same way a lot of people thought Ryan Brewster could become class or Solanke could become class, especially when they were winning the Under-17s World Cup and stuff like that. But listen, in this aspect, I think it's important to mention that although all these other young players could have been, as well as Fabio Carvalho could be, he's not favoured as a number 8 and he's not favoured as a left winger. So unless we find a way to get a 10 in the team, and then you've got to rely on him getting better than players like Szoboszlai, McAllister, who are also offensive midfielders. So I think the reason why we brought him in was the same reason we brought in Brewster and the same reason we bought in Solanke. So that we buy him for 4 million. I think the add-ons made it rise to 7 million. He now goes out on loan to Leipzig while barely playing any football for us. He comes back to us in a year's time. And either Leipzig want to buy him for 20 to 30 million because he's done well, or we're getting a good player. Worst case scenario, we lose out on 4 to 5 million, which isn't actually that bad, and it was a risk that was certainly worth taking. So if he goes there, increases his value, then that was actually good business. We brought him in for a certain price, we've now sold him for more. It's kind of just investing in stocks, but in this case, it's players, and I think it's very smart to do that approach. As I've seen our best business in recent time be from these type of players, so I think that's why Fabio was brought in, and I don't think Jurgen Klopp ever favoured Fabio Carvalho in any way. Not that he didn't like him, not that he thought he had an attitude problem, because for some reason there's always got to be an attachment, but it might just be a club investment, and I think that's what Fabio Carvalho is. Let me know if you agree with that, or if you disagree, if you think James shut the F up because I think Fabio Carvalho's going to be the next Messi. No, I think he's came in purely as an investment and then we sell him for more. But now I want to touch on the players that we've got at our disposal and the players that we can be excited for in the future. Because the biggest fear for quite a minute there was, what about this Liverpool team? It's getting too old. We're getting too many players who are over 28 and we were getting players on long-term contracts who were 28 years of age plus. 28 years of age plus. So no improvement, but we had to at least hope that the form could be maintained. And last season was the season where that form from a lot of players could not be maintained. First 6 months, Salah was poor. I think in the second half, he really saved himself when they changed the system a little bit. And he was getting more of the goals coming towards him. Fabinho, not good enough. Henderson, not good enough. Van Dijk, not good enough. And it doesn't mean you sell all these players, but it does mean you start to make changes. And that's why it's encouraging to see Saudi come and save our ass on a financial point of view. Buying Henderson and Fabinho, because now it gives us no excuse to go out and replace our players. But now I want to talk about the players who are here, not the ones who could potentially join. So I'm going to mainly talk about players who are 23 and under. I believe that's important because if you're going above this, then yes. But there is players there who are 24, 25, like Trent, like Darwin Núñez. I believe Konate is 24. He might be 23. But the point that I'm leading to is that these are players for the future as well. But we already know that not only are they players for the future, they're kind of right here, right now, because they're already playing in the team often. So I'm trying to talk about the players who aren't playing in the team regularly, the Ben Dokes. I'll throw Bajcetic in there, because Bajcetic hasn't quite still broken into the team, if that makes sense. He's still kind of just been in and out. So Ben Doak, Stefan Bajcetic. I also want to throw in there Bobby Clark. I'm a big fan of Bobby Clark. I think now that he's grew more into a men's body type idea, I think we can now be encouraged to see him get a little bit more game time because Klopp seems to be a big fan. I watched the interview of Jurgen Klopp on Liverpool's YouTube channel earlier, and the way he spoke about Bobby Clark, he mentioned his physique, and I've mentioned his physique. I think he's improved physically, and that's massive for the Premier League, of course. So these three in particular are ones that I'm massively excited for. You can talk about Curtis, you can talk about Harvey. It's not wrong to talk about them. I just think they're more established names, and these are names that we still wait to see, can they break into the team. These three in particular for me are the ones that I can see huge promise with. Bajcetic, I'll start on him because I feel like we're all familiar with Bajcetic. Bajcetic for me is somebody who can be a very good deep line playmaker. I really think that he has that element to his game where he sees the combination of play before you know what's going to happen. He's the type of guy to look over his shoulder before he receives the ball. He's the type of guy to scan the pitch before he passes the ball. And then he's also the type of kid who's smart enough to make those little adjustments with his body. An example I'll give you is the little shoulder drop against Aston Villa last season, which was just class. It was just senior pro stuff. That stuff that you learn over time. The little drops here and there. He's learned this already. And he's acquiring this while being around inspirations like Thiago. Imagine for young Spanish Bajcetic to be around Thiago. Because the thing is, everyone would say, like, if Jordan Henderson stays, think about what Henderson can teach Bajcetic. Stylistically, they're two completely different players. What is it, on a football point of view, can Henderson teach Bajcetic? Not really much. Thiago can teach Bajcetic everything in which Bajcetic aims to know. So that's why I'm really encouraged that we've got Thiago. I think he'll be huge for Bajcetic's development. And I'm not trying to do the 2+2 thing, they're both Spanish. So yeah. But yes, is it a comfortable feeling kind of having that, I don't know, that older brother or that uncle figure like Thiago is to Bajcetic? Bear in mind, I think there's a connection in their family somehow. That's huge, and that's huge for the development of a young player. So if Jurgen Klopp is all in on Bajcetic, then we should probably be all in on Bajcetic because he's got quality. The second player I want to talk about, Ben Doak. I've mentioned about the Scottish Messi more than once, and listen, of course, there's still aspects of his game that he needs to brushing up and try and perfect, and maybe that end product now comes along with the ability that he already has, and that's what I want to talk about, is that ability. The hardest thing to teach in football is technical ability. The hardest thing to teach in football is tenacity and being aggressive. Ben Doak is all of these things. You know, you think about the old school shit out of these Scottish ballers, you know what I'm saying? You know, you think about Graham Souness and all that. Ben Doak is like coming from this mould, this legions of Scottish absolute monsters who want to just strangle your face in, and not in literal terms, but yes, in football terms, they want to stomp on your nose. And Ben Doak came in, And any time he came on the pitch, he looked like he wanted to stomp on noses, and he had massive urgency. By the way, the first time I saw Ben Doak was when I took my mum to this game. Me and my mum, we went to the Derby County game last season. I believe that was in the FA Cup. Went to penalties. The Irish Iker Casillas reigned supreme again, and Ben Doak came on for the 15-minute cameo. 15-minute cameo. Not any insignificant, not any major, a 15-minute cameo. Let me also mention, he never got any goals, nor did he get any assists. And I still sat there and went, wow, he's the guy who I'm thinking about leaving this game. I am thinking about a guy who had no goals, no assists, but just simply when he got the ball, things happened. He made things happen. He was an influencer. He weren't scared. And this was his debut at Anfield. Wild to me. And also, that was a very young lineup, so he didn't have much senior experience around him by any means. The front three, when he came on, was him, Leighton Stewart, and I believe Kate Gordon might have been the right winger, by the way, so I'm not too sure, but Ben Doak's another one who I'm a huge fan of. And then Bobby Clark, someone who we've seen less of, but also in those glimpses we've seen quality. And I think he's someone that should be excited, that we should all be excited about as well. But in those three, and you maybe could throw in Cade Gordon. Cade Gordon's a nice player, man. Don't think that I'm trying to sleep on Cade. But he's had an injury in recent times, and we need to see what happens there. But in terms of those three, these are the ones that I'm either confident will make the first team or will be sold for 15 million plus. Like, there'll be those type of assets, like the Jordan Ives and stuff like that. I think these players will turn into that. I think Bobby Clark, I think Ben Doak, and I think Bajcetic. Especially Doak and Bajcetic. There was a reason why I mentioned those two at first. I believe they're guaranteed nailed on to at least have an influence on the team in the short term. And everything that we wanted out of Grujic, for instance, is what Bajcetic can be. Everything that we ever dreamed Shaqiri could become in a Liverpool shirt is what Ben Doak could surpass. So I'm just simply saying that, let's not get excited to a point where we rely on these youngsters. But I thought it would have been an interesting topic to discuss the youth football that's being created at Liverpool right now. How has the under-23s and the under-18s been developing players? Are we staying on top of bringing in good young names? And when I see the ability of Ben Doak and Bajcetic, I think most certainly. When I see investments like Kate Gordon and from I believe it was Bolton, no, it was Derby County, when Wayne Rooney was still there. Kate Gordon, we signed him from them. Top prospect. Fabio Carvalho signed him from Fulham. Top prospect. The Harvey Elliott from Fulham. Top prospect. And again, that was kind of an undisclosed fee situation. And now, if we sold Harvey Elliott, there's no doubt we're getting at least 40 mil. 40 mil. You're telling me nobody out there is paying 30 to 40 million for Harvey Elliott? You're on budge. Because he's got ability as well. And there's a reason why I'm not mentioning him and Curtis. You know, these guys are winning European championships for the country. So these are kind of more established young players. These are the players who we've seen little of, but I think are ready to make a big impact. And I want to know if you agree with this impact that they could make. So here's my overall conclusion. I think we've got at least 3 players that are either going to be one of 2 things. Either they're going to be a regular starter within the next 3 to 5 years, or they are going to be sold as a top asset for 15 to 30 million. That's what I genuinely believe, and I want to know if you agree. Is it good times ahead for the Youth Academy? Because I think it is. But anyway, guys, I love these topics, the boss. We actually have some good things to talk about. And when you analyse the standards of the football club, you can come to these conclusions of, okay, then, well, this is actually good. It might not be the best in the world, and we, of course, want to be the best in the world. But with this ownership, we know that's not short-term realistic. So let's just work day by day and let's focus on these youngsters and put an emphasis on them. So let me know what you think. Anything you disagree on, whether it's a player that I've mentioned and you think, James, he's actually crap. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's why it's always Koosty in the Hoosty, mate. Smash a like, and if you don't enjoy, then smash a dislike. And guys, I will see you all in a bizzle. Peace out.